Welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. Lockdown 5.0 is over here in Victoria. We do still have some restrictions, the main ones being no visitors to your house and masks are mandatory everywhere. Not so bad. So things are sort of getting back to a normal um, and means that we're getting out and about away from the house a little bit, which is nice. But lockdowns have been quite productive for us. We've got a stash of wood and tools and supplies like nails and screws and things like that. And every lockdown, we have done both big and small projects, things around the house and around the farm. And it's been a really good way of keeping busy and being together and outside and doing something that feels productive and useful when you really can't do much else. This past lockdown was no different. This time I built a ramp for Wade. He is 14 now, so he's getting on a little bit. He's still quite active, but he does have arthritis and he can't jump up onto the bed anymore by himself. And what he does is he jumps down. He's not very graceful. He's quite heavy when he lands, and he jumps down and he's popped his shoulder out a couple of times. And he's done it when he was young as well, and he was able to recover quite quickly. But these last few times, you can just see that it's not as easy for him to recover from that anymore. It's quite painful, and it's becoming a problem that I don't want to keep going because I'm worried that he will have a serious injury that he won't be able to recover from. So I looked online and there are a lot of dog ramps that get dogs up onto the bed. Yes, I do let Wade on the bed. He's a very nice snuggle buddy and keeps me warm. He doesn't sleep on the bed all night. He likes to have his own quiet time, and then at some point during the night he wants to get up and then he'll stay through till the morning. So that has meant that he has been waking me up when he wants to get up onto the bed and then waking me up when he wants to get down off the bed in the morning to go outside. So hopefully this will be a solution that's going to help him to feel a little bit more independent and also not wake me up. It was a pretty easy construction, really. I started with a milk crate, and it is like the right height to sit just beside the bed. It sort of sits next to the frame, and then it's just that little bit of the mattress that he has to jump up onto. Found a piece of MDF and cut it to size. Put some hooks on one end of it, and those hooks then link into the top of the milk crate so that it won't shift. And that also means that it's not all connected together. So if I need to move the ramp for any reason, it's much easier to just take the plank off and then move the crate around rather than have to move the whole thing in one piece. And then I put some carpet squares on top. So I cut one to the size of the milk crate and screwed it to the top of the board, and it sort of flaps across. So it's not connected to the milk crate itself, it's connected to the board. And then I carpeted down the rest of the ramp, and I just used the staple gun to put that in place. He was a little hesitant to begin with, as you can imagine. He sniffed around it and he wasn't really sure. I put some treats on the top, and that helped to entice him up, but he still wasn't really sure about it.
Good boy.
Since then, he's been getting the hang of it. He especially likes the getting up part. He thinks he's super clever that he can now get up onto the bed by himself. You can just see it in his attitude. He kind of jumps up and gets quite excited. He's still forgetting that that's the way he needs to get down as well. So I have to kind of, if I'm there, stop him and remind him and tell him to go down the ramp. And he's getting it. So I think a few more days and it will become a bit more of a routine and he will be really into the up and down. And I won't have to worry that he's going to pop his shoulder out, jumping up and down on the bed. Last week, I showed you the flower colorways that I've been dyeing up. So this week, there was only a little bit of dyeing, which I'll show you in a minute. But mostly what I've been doing is resceining all of those and breaking some of them down into mini skeins, taking photos, editing those photos, and then uploading it all onto my website. So everything is now up in the shop. There are the full skeins, the mini skeins, and they're also listed as part of the Bunch of Flowers mini skein sets where you can choose your own 5 flowers in a combination as a set. So that's been quite a lot of work, but I did do a little bit of dyeing and my plan is to do a bit more this coming week as well. But here's what I dyed this week. So last week, I showed you how I'd made a change to lavender fields. I'd made it a bit more a light pinky purple rather than a dark blue purple. And when I was resceining my other skeins, it just didn't quite pop the same as the rest. So I decided that I would add another color to it. What I did is I reskeined it really tightly and I popped it into a pot with a blue purple. So just the bits that were exposed would get that color. And here's how it turned out. I love this. You can see now it's got that really light purple, but then it's also got these dark purple and different shades of green as well. So a really, really, really pretty color. So I am going to retire Lavender Fields, and this is now going to be called just Lavender. I need to knit up a new sample with this, but this is now available in the shop as Lavender. It will be a bit of a pain to dye now each time because I'm going to have to let it dry and then do that last coat of the dark purple, just because I won't be able to get it tightly enough skeined while it's wet to get the same effect. I don't think. I could try, but I am so pleased with how this turned out that I don't want to mess with it anymore, and I think that this will now be the new color. As you can see, I've finished my flax. Don't you love it? Oh, I love it. It is really soft and really warm. I walked across from the house this morning and it is really windy, like cold wind, and it blocked it all out and kept me lovely and warm. I have not blocked it. So you can see the sleeves are pulling a little short at the moment. There is tons of length in this arm. It will sit probably around just over my wrist. But because of the garter and because I haven't blocked it, it is riding up a little bit. So that's one thing that I need to do to really finish it. I have woven in the million ends. It felt like a million anyway. They're all still tied off and inside. I've got them sitting in here. And I won't snip them until after I've blocked it. So there were 2 ends for the start and end of every single stripe. I chose to not carry the yarn with any of the stripes because I didn't want to have a bulky section on one side and I didn't want to have pulled it too tight or not tight enough between the stripes. So this way I was able to keep it really nice and tidy. I also then was able to use the ends of each of the colours to make sure that there wasn't a jog in the colours. So up here is the seam for the sleeve, but I was able to make it reasonably neat and you can't see the colour change in the stripes because of the way that I wove in the ends. So it was worth it, but oh, I think weaving in ends kind of sucks your soul a little bit when you finish a project and that's pretty much all you have left to do. The blocking is okay because you can wash it and put aside, but when you've got to work on it when it feels like it's already finished, that was hard work. So the pattern is Flax by Tin Can Knits. I knit it in a DK rather than a worsted that it's written for. I started on the small medium size for the neck so that I got a nice tight neckline. And then when I got to the raglan increases, I added an additional 6 increases so that I got the right arm depth and number of stitches for the sleeves. I didn't do quite as many decreases on the sleeve, so it's quite a loose fit. But I wanted that because I want to be able to put a long sleeve top or a loose t-shirt underneath and not feel like it's all like tight and restricted. So it's turned out exactly how I wanted it. The green is Sea Blue by Milpost Merino, and the light blue is a merino DK that I bought from Bendigo Ship and Wool Show a really long time ago in a big bag, and I don't know what the brand is, but it is super soft and feels very similar to the Milpost Merino. For the stripes, I did 11 stripes of each color, and I really like how they turned out. I think it's a really good amount of color for each stripe. I love the sleeves and I love the little pop that the change that happens between the colors turns out. This is just a really nice pattern. I keep moving because I can see that the stripes are not straight on the screen. Um, it is a really nice pattern. You can see that you can make it really flexible for yourself. You could do it in so many different colors, so many different weights of yarn. You could do a different stitch pattern down the sleeve. You could add a cable. You could add a lace panel through the middle. It sort of opens itself up to some creativity and to making it really your own. So now I have sort of my stitch numbers for doing a DK version of this for myself. So it might be something that I go back to when I want another comfy around the house kind of jumper to get on the needles. So what am I working on now? Well, I went back to the pair of socks that I put aside. I finished the first one. This is in the hangover colorway, and the heels, toes, and cuffs are in fairy floss. I just finished this one last night and I have not cast on the second one, but as you know, I tend to always have socks on the needles, so that will be on shortly and will be my take a break, not thinking kind of project. I am thinking that I really love this color combination and I might actually dye up some sets of this. So you can buy the color for the leg of and cuff of the sock and also for the heels, toes, and cuffs as well. So I think that might be fun. And there's a couple of other colors that I think would look really good as combinations. So I might put a few different sets up in a few weeks' time and see how that goes. And I've made a start on my crossover cardi. I haven't done too much. I started while I still had the ends to weave in on this, and that was just sucking the mojo right out of me. So I just stuck to the socks until this was done, and now I'll get stuck in to the crossover cardi again. So it is being knit out of the Queensland Kathmandu Aran weight in green tweed, which is really pretty. And I've started the back, quite tangled because I've got an extra cable here. So it's a provisional cast on, and instead of putting it on to waste yarn, I used Judy's Magic Cast On and I cast on to a second cable. So that way the stitches are live, they're not going to get tangled up in some waste yarn, and I'll just be able to pop needles onto the end and start knitting with it straight away. So this bit is just plain stockinette with some increases at each end. You knit sort of a big back piece, and then it gets complicated. Or maybe it's not, but just reading the pattern seemed complicated. So you then apply a couple of different borders. There's cables, there's different stitch patterns. You sort of work one side and then the other side and connect everything together. And I'm sure it's going to magically work, but just reading it my brain kind of doesn't compute that quite as it should. So I'm just going to trust the pattern. I'm going to do this part, and then I'm just going to get to the next part and see if it makes sense. And I'm sure it will. Hope it will. I've been in the same situation with other patterns, especially when it's a technique or a construction that you haven't done before. You kind of can't picture in your head how it's going to work. So all you've got to do is trust that the pattern is right and that it will get you where you need to go. And all you need to do is just get to that point and then follow it step by step, and just make sure that you continue to read everything properly, and hopefully it will work out. So I really like the fabric so far. It is a really soft yarn. It's a little bit open on this gauge, but I think that's how it's supposed to be. And once the cables and other stitch patterns come in, that will change, and I think it'll be a really nice texture as well. So my focus is going to be on this now, although since things are opened up, it may not get as much love as this flax got. This one was done very, very quickly, and it was a simple knit. As I said, this one is going to be a little bit more complicated once I get past this first bit. But I am really looking forward to seeing how it turns out. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.